Well, we came into some decent news today, didn't we? I'm not talking about transfers, by the way, in case you've missed it. Don't know how you would have been if you are a Liverpool fan. But depending on which side of the fence you're on, FSG have put the club up for sale. In some words, there is some people that are kind of like saying that it's just after a part stake, or new stakeholders investment. But some of the wording that they've actually used this time round compared to 2018, they're looking to sell the club. In 2018, they said they were looking for investment and emphasised on the fact that the club was not for sale. That is not in this statement today, guys. Liverpool Football Club is for sale. And I'm going to go through a few things where I kind of think this may be further down the line than we actually think right now, and the reasons behind it. But firstly, I'm going to just go over my thoughts on FSG as a whole and the ownership I've had with them. So let's get this started first with some of the good stuff, because they have done some good stuff. Even though I have been FSG out now for a little bit, they have done some good stuff. So the stadium expansion, for one, can't fault them there, can we really? Perhaps we should have built a new stadium. The stadium expansion is the cheaper option, but most Liverpool fans would have preferred to have stayed at Anfield rather than build a new stadium. So they've probably done the right thing there, in my opinion as well. I would have rather have stayed at Anfield than go elsewhere. But I do know there's a fair few fans that may have wanted the new stadium as well. The training facility, we spent 50 million on that apparently. And I know us as Liverpool fans have been going on about this training facility and using it as an excuse why we've not bought players, but Leicester spent like 100 odd million on their training facility, and I don't hear their fans talking about it, but it is a good thing. Melwood was a little bit outdated, so it's good that we got out of there and got something new. And also the sponsorships that they've done with the club. The club's bringing in more revenue than it probably ever has due to them, with the Nike deal and everything else that they've got going on, let alone with the success on the field last season. We brought in 120 odd million in prize money alone. We've had a really good success rate with them being in charge, mainly down to Jurgen Klopp. But they did hire him, and they did also hire Mike Edwards, who helped revolutionise the transfer game that we were doing. And that's why all the top clubs are now after this guy, now that he left. And that's got me thinking now, actually. If we get these new owners in, could he come back? Anyway, that's something else. Because I think he left basically because he knew that the money was drying up and he couldn't keep doing what he was doing. But anyway, that's a different point. We're not talking about that today. But therein lies the problem as well, as why most Liverpool fans have a problem with FSG, and that is transfers. We have had to live within our means, guys. We could only spend what we earn, which didn't make sense considering last year, as I say, in prize money alone, we made over 100 odd million, and we didn't even really spend that in the summer window. And I think FSG was hoping that FFP was going to come in and change everything, and that their way of doing things would be the norm, but obviously it hasn't. You've got Man City's owners getting these new companies, shall we say, that are sponsoring the club so they can get these big transfers over the line, like the Haaland deal, for instance. Look into it, that's all I'm saying. And then we've also got just the European Super League fell on its face, didn't it? When that didn't go through, I think that was another point as well where perhaps FSG was looking at getting out. Them selling as well shows, I think, that the European Super League probably won't be happening for a bit now. Because I think if that was happening, the money that would have generated would have put the price up of the club even more. Which is the last point I'll finish off here. Which, even though I've mentioned all these good parts that FSG have done, they haven't done this out of the goodness of the heart, guys. Like, they bought the club for 300 million. So everything they've done is to increase the value of their asset, which is now worth so much that I'm going to go over in a bit. But that is why they have done these things. They've not done it because they're Liverpool fans. They've done it to increase the value of the asset, which they can then flip and earn a massive profit on, which is what I think they're going to get now. So, let's go over a couple of things here. I've got timing the price and who could be the potential owners of Liverpool that we're looking at. So I think we'll go over the timing first. Why has this come out all of a sudden at this moment in time? So for those of you that listen to the Cop Talk podcast and are potentially Cop Talk members, Dunk has said that Dunk has said that he thinks that something has been going on within the higher ups at the club for a while now, since the summer, and this kind of ties into potentially what also is being rumoured, that they turned down a bid for the club either last year or this year in April for $3 billion. Now that perhaps has maybe split the ownership at FSG over what to do with Liverpool. Some of them want to sell up, some of them want to stay, and it looks like that the ones that wanted to sell up have won that fight. So the timing for this, for me, is very interesting, because what happens in a couple of weeks, guys? The World Cup. We've got a World Cup break. All eyes in the footballing world will be on the World Cup. And it's in that part of the world where we could potentially be getting an owner from. We'll come to that in a bit. So all eyes will be over there, so they can get a deal done without the scrutiny of the UK media being on them, because the UK media is going to be fully focused on the World Cup at this time. Number 2, the January transfer window. I personally think this is further down the line than what we actually think it is already. And the January transfer window is coming up. Now, I don't think that FSG have got it in their head that, oh, let's sell now so that the fans and the team can get some new players in and it's going to be somebody else's money. They won't be thinking that. They'll be thinking, let's get these sold before January, so then we're not expected to be funding our own money to rectify the problems that have been going at the club. You know, we've been crying out for investment for a while now. Look back at Alex Ferguson when he was in charge of Manchester United. He was always taking players out and putting new players in when they were on top. That is what we should have done. If we have done that at the time, we wouldn't have the midfield problems that we've got now. We wouldn't have the age problems that we've got now in the team. Go back a couple of years, we had one of the youngest squads in the league. We've now got like the second or third eldest in the league. That's due to lack of investment. And all this nonsense we had in the summer where there's not a midfielder out there to come in. There is, guys, and I'm going to cover that in another video, because I've been sat on a couple of videos that I've been wanting to do, but I just haven't had the time, and then this news has broke, so there'll be another video coming up probably tomorrow in what I think we could go get in midfield and who and the pricing and stuff. But yeah, January window is the timing as well, why I think this could be pushed forward now. Also as well, the January transfer window could be used as an excuse why they don't spend. You know, and they're using this, as an excuse why they don't spend in January. Because if we don't get an owner in by January, let's say, FSG might turn around and say, well, club's for sale, like, why would we put any money towards it? Do you know what I mean? Let's leave that there. Number 3, which I think is probably one of the ones that push it over a little bit, is the global financial situation right now. The pound is worth absolutely nothing, and the dollar's a lot more now than the pound. FSG might be looking at this thinking we can get a lot more for our money if we sell now. We sell now, we'll get more for our money than we would have done if it wasn't how it is now. That's what I personally think there. I don't know the equivalence of what the transaction would be, you know, the exchange rate or anything like that, but I do think the global financial crisis has something to do with this as well. And then lastly, on timing, which I think is the main reason why we have heard about this today, they've already had an offer. Not the one where they've rejected it, but they've had an offer which I think would tempt them, but they're putting the feelers out now through the media to see who else is out there. You know, we saw the whole thing with Chelsea, didn't we? Where they had so many people trying to buy the club at the same time and the price kept going up. I think that's what FSG are trying to get here. They're trying to make a bidding war. And I honestly think that would be like the main thing right now. I honestly think that is the number one reason why we have heard about this today. Now then, that ties into the price. What we're looking at, I think, in the price for Liverpool Football Club, basically, guys. So, with the rumour that they turned down 3 billion, I've done a little bit of digging here, and apparently Forbes values the club at 3.6 billion. So I think that's the benchmark. Let's call it 3.5 billion. The benchmark for us to be sold is 3.5 billion, I think. That's the minimum. Chelsea were sold for 2.5 billion. You hear all this stuff about 4.2 billion, but I think that's got something to do with like promises, you know, like invested into this, that and the other. But the actual sale of the club was like 2.5 billion. Now Liverpool have got a bigger brand than Chelsea. We are outside London, which probably pushed the price up a little bit for Chelsea. But look at our global appeal. We are probably in the top 5 biggest clubs in the world. If you're being honest with yourself, guys. For me, they're the biggest club in the world. But if you're being honest, you know, you've got Man United, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, you know, potentially some of the Italian clubs. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So we are looking at probably one of the most expensive. We probably will be the most expensive buy of someone buying a club. That would probably be us. 3.5 bill. I think it would. 4.5 is the maximum I think they'd go up to. And just that's it, guys, for price wise. 3.5 to 4.5 billion I think we're looking at here. Now that brings us to who could actually afford to buy Liverpool Football Club. Now, if you've been listening again to the Cop Talk podcast, or you've watched one of my previous videos, which if I actually looked for it, and I could put a link to it above, but I have mentioned this guy before, Jim Ratcliffe, who is the richest man in the UK, if I'm not wrong. He has clubs in France, like Nice, I think is one, and potentially another one, Toulouse, I think, potentially. He tried to buy Chelsea, and he offered above what they went for. He offered like 4-point-something billion, like as the standard buying rate. Like he absolutely blew everybody else out of the water to buy him. But because he came into the process so late down the line, he just didn't get a chance, basically. The negatives on Jim Ratcliffe are he has a Chelsea season ticket and he is apparently a Manchester United fan, which does put up a bit of a red flag for me because he's also trying to buy Man United, apparently. But at the same time, I aren't too bothered about who people support. Like, do you really think that the City owners support City or the Newcastle owners support Newcastle? As long as they're football fans and they know what football fans want and would try to strive to have success at the club and put their own money in, as long as they're not something that's breaking like human rights, I aren't too bothered who you support. Like, I would take Jim Ratcliffe, and I honestly think he is the person that's put this bid in, that's made this all go public right now, because there's an interesting little snippet that I've also mentioned before in the past, where he was at a summit or something like that, where he basically turned around and said that, oh, you know, I won't be going for Man United, I've met them, they're not interested in selling. And then it came out that the next 2 clubs on his hit list was us and Spurs as the clubs that he could potentially be buying. And then also I mentioned this to Dunk on the Cop Talk podcast again. God, you're getting some shouts out today, Dunk. That John Henry actually met with someone at Mercedes, and Mercedes is owned 33% by Jim Ratcliffe. Now, this is something I do, guys. Like, I don't just try to come up with rumours and stuff like that. I look at what I see around and I try and piece it together. You know, John Henry meets the Mercedes person, Liverpool get put up for sale, Jim Ratcliffe has been linked to us before this happened. Like, don't be surprised if he is in the press within the next couple of days saying that he is out there trying to buy Liverpool Football Club. Like, if anyone right now is going to buy Liverpool Football Club, I would say it's probably him. And I think he is the person that's put this bid in, that's forced FSG to go public, shall we say. 2, I think you're looking at potentially Redbird. They already bought a stake into FSG. They bought AC Milan. So could they become over here and buy a full stake and take the whole ownership of Liverpool? It could happen, guys. Like, you know, the name Redbird Liverpool, it goes. The only thing is, they are American owners. Are they going to be the same as FSG? Are they going to put the money where their mouth is? Like, I hope it's not them. Like, out of the two that I've named that I could potentially see happening, I hope it's not Redbird, but in all likelihood, it could be. It really could be, guys. Just putting it out there. And then, thirdly, the only other one that was being linked to us a while ago now is Tencent and from China. Now, this was something that was lightly linked like about a couple of years ago now. Maybe they're the ones that put that 3 billion offer in, you know, back then. If you don't know them, they are a Chinese company owned by the Chinese government, like all companies are over there. And they are rich. They're heavily into the gaming sector and own a lot of gaming developers or have stakes in gaming developers that you probably all play, like, you know, Bungie and, you know, the Halo developer and Destiny, stuff like that. They're into all that type of stuff, so they have got money to spend, but I don't think I'd be too happy being owned by a Chinese government company. Like, nah. And then the only other ones I could probably see is someone from over in the Middle East with Qatar. You know, the whole World Cup's going off, football's going to be going crazy over there, and it could be used to, you know, highlight the tournament. Like, it could be someone sat there at the World Cup watching the games thinking, you know what, I want to go buy someone. You know, with the money they've got over there, it's just stupid, isn't it? They could just turn around and go, oh yeah, I'll buy you for nothing. It's nothing. It's, I find that down back at side of my couch. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, they're the ones that I think could potentially be buying us. Jim Ratcliffe, I think he's the one, you know, that's potentially the most likely to have done something, and that's why they've come out. I can just see it. Redbird, Tencent, or someone from the Middle East. I think that's what we're looking at there, guys, for the new owners of Liverpool Football Club. Anyway, I've rambled on a bit here. I think this must be like one of the longest videos I've done. So, let me know, guys, down below. What do you think about all this? Have I missed anything out? Have I talked a bit too much? Then you've not really watched the full video. Let me know, guys, down below. Exciting news. Can't wait, honestly, to see how this develops. Just so you know as well, Paul Joyce has put his own article out there. I haven't read it because I don't have the subscription to the Times. If I see anything, I might do a video on that later on, but that's it, guys. That's all I'm going to say now. I'm going to get off. FSG have put Liverpool up for sale. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.